My name is Kayleigh. I'm a textile artist. I work with natural dyes as part of the Growing Colour Together working group, and I am also a PhD researcher at the University of Huddersfield. I am basically researching woven in Kirklees Festival and looking at Growing Colour Together as a project and looking at the legacy around it for the people of Kirklees.
I'm Elnaz Yazdani and I'm an embroidery artist who works with woven, and I'm part of the Growing Colour Together project. The Growing Colour Together project is about creating spaces across Kirklees that we can empower people to get going with gardening, but also gardening for textiles, so actually creating your own dye gardens and things like that. The project that myself and Kayleigh are working on together through the Cultures of Place programme and Woven in Kirklees in partnership is all about finding ways to use gardening and greenery and plant life to be implemented into textile design. So Kayleigh's looking a lot at plants that have different dye properties in and different printing properties in, so she can look at natural dyeing processes for textiles. And I'm, as an embroidery artist, looking at the way in which I can use found objects from the garden and nature, dry them, press them and work with them in hand stitch.
These processes are being used to create pieces for the Cultures of Place exhibition and workshops being held at the Market Garden and also at Percy Shaw House at the University of Huddersfield. The pieces for the exhibition have gone through a number of processes. I start off by collecting natural dye plants from both foraging trips and from the colour garden. I then bring them back and create a dye bath with them to create the ground for the pieces. I then layer eco-printing processes on top of the ground, and then Elnaz used this fabric to embroider on top of, and also she's using some of the fabric for her workshops as well.
Sustainability is obviously really important across every sector, but it's really important within textiles because textiles produces a lot of waste, both through chemicals in the dyeing process, but also in the manufacturing of textiles, whether that be woven textiles, knitted, printed, embroidered. We need to think about where we're sourcing our materials and how we're actually embellishing or printing on those materials, and is it sustainable in the long run. So natural dyeing gardens or dye processes, or using things that you can grow in your backyard here in our own city, is a really nice way and a really sustainable way of you being able to actually approach some of these things with your groups or these methods and it not cause any waste, any chemicals, any pesticides, and you're doing things really naturally as well.
Sustainability is really important in textiles. We are constantly wearing clothes, using textiles, they're in everyday life, but a lot of the textiles that we use we know are quite damaging. So it's good to know that there are other options. It's good to think about the clothing that we wear, and especially when we're thinking about things that are naturally dyed, because a lot of them will be biodegradable because it's got to be natural fibres. So it's just sort of raising awareness around sustainability with textiles.
I'm hoping that starting off with this Cultures of Place brief will give us some grounding, at least a space in which the members of staff from the department, the students, and then eventually the community can come in and actually start to use the university colour garden, not just for our researchers and our students, which is what it's set up for now, but as a way of reaching out onto our doorstep.
I really hope that we can get a beautiful garden growing. I think it will take a lot of time and a lot of work, but I hope that it can become a lasting resource that we can use for Growing Colour Together projects. I think it could be a really nice focal point for people in the local community to come and have a look. I think it will sort of be that beacon where we can invite people to come around and just have a go. I am a natural dyer already, and I have been for a few years, and I think that is kind of at the core of everything. But also being part of something bigger where I'm meeting so many people. I'm working with other artists, I'm working with children. It's just, yeah, it's really nice.
With the Cultures of Place, it's a really nice partnership because of obviously the ecosystem of the town. We're thinking about actually working within Huddersfield. We're wanting to build up a relationship and partnership with our communities. And I know both mine and Kayleigh's research is very centred around community well-being and community engagement activities. So we both do a lot of participatory research with our communities anyway. And I think that research lends itself really well with Woven in Kirklees because the ethos is about sharing these skills, sharing these practices, and giving communities the knowledge and empowerment to be able to go out and create their own dye garden or their own little havens of nature that they can sit in.